What I'm going to ask you to do is raise your right hand, and you're going to repeat after me. So I state your name.
I, Jason Holscher.
Good, I'm glad. I thought you guys were going to say state your name, so you did good there. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee
of the office of
of the City of Manvel
City of Manvel,
of the State of Texas,
State of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
will to the best of my ability
preserve,
preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend the Constitution
defend the Constitution,
and laws of the United States
laws of the United States
and of this state,
and of the state,
and the Charter
Charter,
and ordinances
ordinances
of this city,
of this city.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, guys. So what you'll do now is you'll have your papers in front of you. You'll need to sign the top and then make sure to get that to Tammy before you leave. That way she can make a copy. And then you guys will be able to take those home and frame those and display them. And appreciate you guys being involved and being willing to serve and volunteer. This is, it's a lesser known committee, but it's a very important committee, especially with all that we have going on in Manvel and the growth and the capital projects. It's an opportunity to make sure that we keep our city staff moving forward and keep council in line with what we need to be kept in line for. So appreciate you guys stepping up. And if there's ever anything I can do for you as mayor, y'all just let me know, okay? Congratulations.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through, we're going to open the meeting, do the call to order, the pledge, and then the first two action items. And then, like I said, then we'll switch and the chair will take over. If you'll make sure when you're talking to press the speaker button, it should be green so that it'll pick up on the recording. So I'm going to call the meeting to order of the Manvel Capital Improvement Advisory Committee at 5:05 p.m. Do the roll call. Christopher Davenport.
Present.
Keitha Davenport.
Present.
Jason Holscher.
Present.
Ramji.
Present.
Thank you. And Alina Rogers.
Present.
If we can stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. She's on her way in here. For the public comments, do we have any public comments? With no public comments, we're going to go to the regular agenda. The first item is consideration and possible action to elect a chairman. So I know this is a little bit difficult as all of y'all are just now meeting each other. If you want to go through and do self-introductions and maybe express if you have an interest in being the chairman, and then you guys can make the recommendation for appointment from that and then vote on it. So if you want to start from this end and maybe go around.
Yes, good evening. My name is Christopher Davenport. Currently, I am an accountant for ConocoPhillips. Just glad to be here.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Keitha Davenport. I currently work for Johnson Space Center at NASA as a logistics coordinator, and I work in procurement also.
My name is Jason Holscher. Like Christopher, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for the nomination and the bid, Mr. Mayor. I don't think I have an interest in running as an officer of this until we really know what direction we're heading. For my background, I'm in residential construction.
My name is Ramji Ramachandran. I had worked for, Ramji Ramachandran. I had worked for 40 years in the industry, 20 years with Shell and 20 years with DuPont. The last 4 years I worked at the Lamar University. just last year, my wife and I moved to Manvel, and we are really happy here, and we're trying to get to know the community here, and we want to serve, and look forward to serving on this committee.
My name is Alina Rogers. I'm broker owner of Sparrow Realty here in Manvel. I am thankful, again, also happy to be here and happy to serve on this board. I do not have an interest in being a chairman. Thank you.
So at this point, this is where somebody who hasn't expressed not being interested would possibly, someone else would make a motion to recommend that.
I make a motion to nominate Christopher Davenport as chairman.
I motion Keitha.
Oh.
So now you've got two motions on the table. So you're going to have to vote on
Seconding one of them?
yes.
Okay.
And then, well,
So Ramji, who do you want to second?
I would like to second nominating Christopher Davenport.
hold on just a second. So now we'll take a vote on the first motion. All those in favor
Oh.
say aye.
Aye. Oh,
Aye.
The motion was Alina's motion for Christopher with the second by Ramji. For chair.
Okay.
So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
it's even. Who wants to do it?
I think Keitha should do it. Be chair.
What about vice? I can do vice. I'll be vice chair. I love it. Okay. Chair.
So right now you had your vote was
It was even.
3-2.
Pull the board, Tammy. Pull the board. There was a lot of crosstalk. Maybe you want to just pull them.
So again, all those in favor, raise your hand. For Christopher to be the chair. Okay, and those against? Okay, so the motion passes 3-2. The second motion, there's no second for. And then the second agenda item is going to be consideration of possible action to elect a vice chair. So, Jason?
I nominate Alina. You said you didn't want to be the chairman.
Technicalities. Well, I would like to nominate Keitha.
Do I have a,
Oh, what?
I need a second for somebody.
so if nobody makes a second to the first motion, then that one's going
Oh,
to die
so-
on the floor, and then we can go on to the second
nominate
motion,
Ramesh.
or,
So what is the motion again?
so I guess maybe let's do this. We had one motion from Jason to nominate Alina. If nobody makes a second to that motion, it's going to die on the table.
Okay, I will second Elena to be the vice chair.
So you have an active motion and a second for Alina. Then you had,
I made a motion for Keitha. Oh, but didn't I make my motion first for Keitha? Oh, darn.
Jason
Okay.
did.
Hit my buzzer first.
So you have an active motion from Jason to nominate Alina as the vice chair with Ramji as the second. All those in favor? All those against? Sorry, Alina. you're
All
the
right.
chair.
I'll do my best.
So if we want to swap seats,
Mr. Chairman, I believe this is your chair. I try to keep you out of there, man. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it out.
All right, so what do I have to do? Yeah.
Okay, regular agenda item C, we're going to update and review of the scope of the duties of the board.
Well, the duties comes from the statute, the local government code, which the city's also adopted in the resolution creating the city's own committee. I'll read them to you. It's to advise and assist the city in adopting land use assumptions. Those are the bases for the impact fees. Review the capital improvements plan and file written comments. Monitor and evaluate implementation of the capital improvements plan. File semi-annual reports with respect to the progress of the capital improvements plan and report to the city any perceived inequities in implementing the plan or imposing the impact fee. And 5, advise the city of the need to update or revise the land use assumptions, capital improvements plan, and impact fee. So, and the important part while you're here is by statute, you have to go ahead and do semi-annual reports. And now is the time, I guess this is since you've been created, your first time to meet for this thing. So you'll be guaranteed at least 2 meetings a year. And you can meet more often for some of these other things when land use assumptions and impact fees are underway or about to be underway. You might be meeting more frequently to talk to the engineers about some of the things that go in that. But otherwise, it's going to be to hear from the engineers and approve this report, which I think you're going to be receiving information on shortly.
Does this just get emailed to us through our city email, or how are we getting the information?
for the actual report, is that what you're asking about?
Yeah, or whatever it is that we have to review.
So typically, yes. This one's a little bit unique in that we did not get it until today ourselves.
okay.
So they're printed, they're going to give the report to you, as well as each of you have a printed copy since it's a little bit harder to see up on the screen. So everything that they're going to be presenting, you guys have printed as well. But absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Typically prior to the meeting, the same time you guys get your agendas, you will have all the information to review as well for
Okay.
future meetings.
Okay.
Bobby, were you done with your update?
All right, so we're going to move forward with agenda item D. So this is going to be consideration and possible action to approve the semi-annual capital improvement plan report and forward with a favorable recommendation to the city council.
Hey, Shuttle.
Blow a ring around your microphone.
Thank you so much. Well, congratulations on your new role. It's exciting to be here at your first meeting. My name is Ishita Rahman. I'm a professional engineer at Fries & Nichols, an engineering consulting firm, and with me I have Richard Weatherly, who is also a professional engineer in the firm. And both of us were part of the team who worked on the 2021 update of the water and wastewater impact fees. Bobby already gave you some update on the requirement of a semi-annual report. So we are today here assisting the city in providing you the semi-annual report on water and wastewater impact fees. I'm not sure. It's not working. Sorry for the presentation. It's not going to presentation mode, so hopefully you can see it. If you have any questions, let me know. We have a agenda of going over the impact fee introduction. We'll be very brief, but we'll give you an update on what impact fees are, and we'll provide a short summary of what the 2021 update included. And after that, the semi-annual report is really 3 slides, and it's included in the copy that you received from Tammy today. So impact fees are one-time fees that are assessed to new developments that will help cover the cost that's related to growth for specific capital projects that are identified during the impact fee study. So because you have an impact fee, a new development shares its cost. So basically, with the growth that new development brings in, they share the cost for that growth. If you didn't have an impact fee, the existing and future ratepayers would have paid for all of that capital improvement needs. If the impact fees are governed by the Texas Local Government Code, Chapter 295, the code. Thanks. The law requires that your impact fees are updated every 5 years. You can update them sooner than the 5-year timeline. This is just reiterating that it is a means for the growth to pay for its growth, and so the existing customer do not have to pay for the growth for that growth that's happening here today. Impact fee, you can use the impact fees to pay for existing infrastructure that has been recently constructed and has capacity to serve growth in the next 10 years. So at the time of this impact fee update in 2021, the 10-year period was 2021 to 2031. And it can also pay for the new construction that will serve future growth. And that the cost of the construction that's included in survey, engineering, or acquisition of land and actual construction all can get paid with the impact fee money. And the study that actually calculates the impact fee is also impact fee eligible. So on the right side of the screen, we're showing examples of costs that cannot be paid with impact fees. That includes CIP projects that were not included or not found eligible in the study, or the upgrades that are needed to serve existing issues or repairs or O&M cost. There are more examples of this. This is just a short example of what cannot be paid through impact fee. So overall, if it's something that is serving future growth, that is eligible to be paid towards with impact fees. So you're here today as the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee. During impact fee study, the role of this committee is to review the land use assumptions and the impact fee eligible CIP and provide written recommendations to the City Council on recommendation for the impact fee that is going to be adopted. And after the study, so that part has already been completed in 2021, and between now and 2026, we will do another update where you as the SEAC will provide that input and recommendation. So after the adoption of the impact fee, SEAC receives semi-annual report on the progress that has been made on the CIP. So this is the first of those reports. So we'll be coming here and meeting with you every 6 months to provide you an update. And if you see anything need for an up that requires revise of the land use assumptions or the CIP or the impact fees, the SEAC, as a SEAC, you would advise City Council for an upgrade. This is a very short summary of what was included in the 2021 study. This slide here shows the impact fee service area and all the developments that were considered during that study. Every development and the growth were looked at and identified which would be impact fee eligible towards the improvements that will have to be constructed in order to serve them. This slide here is showing all of the water projects that were identified to be eligible for impact fees. And during the study, based on the growth, it was also identified what portion of these projects are eligible. And we'll come back and show you a progress on which these impact fee eligible projects. This next slide is showing all the wastewater projects that were identified to be impact fee eligible. And again, we'll show you a progress report for this. This table here is showing the impact fees as calculated and adopted as part of the 2021 update. The impact fees and City of Manvel's is based on water meter size, and 3/4 inch is the base meter. So for base meter, the impact fee was calculated to be $9,548, and for each larger size meters, they get a multiplier of that amount. Now we've gotten to the impact fee report, semi-annual report portion. This table here is showing you the impact fee fund activity. On these different columns, we're showing what is the beginning balance of the impact fee account in the last 5 fiscal years. What was the interest earned on the account? What portion of it is from water impact fees? What is from wastewater impact fees? And the very bottom row is showing, and the negative red dollars is showing what amount of the fund was transferred to the CIP fund. And once it's transferred to the CIP fund, it gets applied to the impact fee eligible projects. And I'll also like to note here that per Chapter 395 of Texas Local Government Code, the impact fee dollars that the city collects should be spent within the next 10 years on impact fee eligible projects. This table is showing us update of all the projects that we were showing you on the map. It's about more than 50% projects are in progress right now, and some are partially completed. From the planning in 2021 to actual execution, some alignments of the projects have changed due to design considerations and site considerations. So where we had, our unit costs have changed with time. So where we had cost information, we have summarized that in the latest estimate of the project cost. There are other cost information available on the other in-progress project, but because the entire project is not completed, we're not showing a partial cost. We're only showing cost where the full cost estimate is available. And this is the same update on the wastewater side. Again, over 50% projects are in progress, and we're showing the latest estimate for the projects where it's available. So that concludes the report portion. If you have any questions, Richard or I are here to help answer that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions real quick. Just a brief glance on these things. Going back to that impact fee fund activity chart that you had, it was towards the end. Yes. The data for 21-22, the one that's empty.
The zero?
Yes. What was the beginning balance there?
So that year for 21-22, the beginning balance was zero because all of the balance was were transferred to the CIP fund.
Okay, 100% transfer. And then the 23-24, is that?
The same.
Okay.
What funds did you say have to be used within a certain amount of time?
All the impact fee funds that are
Okay.
collected.
Okay.
What caused the interest income to increase so much in 1920 and then drop again in 2021?
Was it looking at you?
All I can say, it's probably the way they were allocating the interest. Each finance director allocates interest differently, and at that time, they allocated that amount of money to the impact fees. If they had it in a higher earning bank account, this is one example, because most of the time, we put all the money in investment accounts so that it'll earn a little bit more money. So it depends on how much it earned or how much we had sitting in those investment accounts.
Rosie, could it also be that the interest was being earned in that account because we weren't transferring it over, but now that we're transferring it over, it doesn't have time to grow interest in this account. It's still growing interest, but just
That's part of it.
it's already being
But
transferred.
if you notice, the other 2 years,
Right.
Gotcha, okay. That makes sense.
The 22-23 revenue was a loss, and then it shot back up again through this year. What was the swing that caused that?
I can talk a little bit about it. So one of the things was there's a refund to some developments in Manvel Town Center. Was it H-E-B and McDonald's? Since they put in their own water plant and wastewater plant, they should not have been charged impact fees because they put in their own infrastructure. So there was a refund there. But then the new numbers coming in, is that all Valencia this year? So now that Valencia's kicked off in earnest, and probably still some of Del Bello Lakes. So just, yeah, there was a little lull, there in new development shortly after COVID, and now it's picked back up a little bit. We visited with Meridiana earlier today, and they said to expect about 500 new homes in Meridiana next year in Manvel. So they don't get impact fees because they put in their own water and wastewater. So we don't get to count that. But still, that's new homes coming into the city. And Valencia will be doing almost the same. So we'll probably be back up pushing closer to 1,000 new homes a year, like we were. Just hard to imagine.
So if you put in your own infrastructure, I guess, then you don't pay the impact fee. I remember a few years ago there was something about individuals. There's a different fee for individuals building on their own home versus like a multi-development with like a neighborhood, correct? Or
Yeah,
I can't quite remember.
Sure. So if you're putting your own well and septic, you're not going to pay impact fees to the city because you're not impacting the system. But if you say you're on Lewis or somewhere where we have infrastructure and you wanted to connect to that, when we first put that line in, if you go ahead and connect to it, then you don't pay the impact fee. If you do it within 2 years, something like that, maybe it's 50%, I think, is what the impact fee study said. After that, you're on your own. You're going to have to pay the full impact fee. But yes, once
When you own the property or start building on it? Or?
Yeah, so you pay your. Great
So
question.
it is different for
It
an
is.
individual versus a developer.
Yep.
Okay.
And the number, which we don't have the impact fee study up here, but it's based on the meter size. So the standard meter of 3/4 of an inch. Oh, there, perfect. Thank you, Ashita. Yeah. So the bigger your meter, the bigger of an impact you can have to the system.
Right.
And I'm using the word impact over and over again because that's what it is, right? It's a water and sewer impact fee. So if you have a 2-inch line, what is that number? I can't see.
Yeah, if it's a 2-inch line, it's
Yeah.
over 61,000.
Yes. Yeah. So it's considerably more. So it's not prorated. How would you explain that as far as the meter size?
Yeah, so this really is the third column that's showing the equivalency. So this is calculated based on the safe maximum operating capacity of each meter. So basically, if you have a larger meter, you take more water.
Right.
So you pay more towards the.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Has anything been looked at to change residential to going straight 1 inch rather than having 3/4 as an option just to pick up a little additional? I know the city of Houston doesn't do anything less than 1 inch for all of new construction, residential specific.
It was a big change because the city used to allow 5/8, and then so we bumped them up to 3/4. Here's what we do now: is all of the services for residential are 1 inch. The service itself is a 1 inch, and then that way, if it's depending on. I mean, if you only have 2 bathrooms, you don't need a 1 inch. But if you have 5 bathrooms, you might need a 1 inch. So, depending on what your MEP says or what your plumber says, so to speak. It's there for you. You can go up to a 1 inch. It's ready for you. But right now, we just literally put down a reducer to go down to the 3/4 so that they can. I guess it was sort of a stopgap to go from the 5/8 to the 3/4. We could. I will tell you, this is the easier part. The harder part is whenever we first started actually charging impact fees. It was a little difficult. Without getting into too much detail. You didn't talk about the 50%, did you?
No.
Richard, could you explain that? Because I'll butcher it.
So what the initial impact fee study does, which again, the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee is we've used that as part of the process to come up with these numbers in the first place. And so that was done in 2021. And this base calculation, this 9,548, comes from a number of basically eligible costs of all these projects. These are the costs that are going to be incurred over the next 10 years of growth. The city builds projects for 20, 30 years of use, but the law says you can only take 10 years worth of that growth and put that in the formula in the numerator. The denominator is simply the growth in 10 years, and that gets you a max allowable number that both the committee can see what that max allowable number is, and then the committee makes a recommendation to council on setting it at the max or setting it somewhere lower than that, and the council really decides. But also as part of that, that max number gets cut in gets cut in half, or you have to do a credit analysis that looks at how much of these CIP projects have you paid for using rates, and how much are you going to pay for using impact fees, so that you don't pay for the same project with two pots of money and double dip on the impact fee. So the 50% method was already used. So this 9,548 is 50% of the maximum number that the number really is. So in essence, the city already pays for half of these projects. 50% of it is paid for with rates. 50% of it is paid for with this number right here on the right.
Well, Bobby brought up a good point. So where does the other 50% come from? Does that mean the projects only cost half of what we thought? Of course not, right?
No,
Not just rate, but also some subsidy too. If there's a negative, then the city's got to subsidize.
yeah. So and so that's what we set we estimated the cost in 2021 to be what they are. But that's one of the reasons why we provided an update on here's what we assumed and estimated the cost to be. Here's what they actually are. I think everybody knows costs have gone up way higher than what anybody anticipated, 3 years ago coming out of COVID. They were starting to get kind of crazy high at that point in time, but they've continued to exceed. So any excess above that maximum number that we calculated falls to the ratepayers as well. You can't charge the developers more unless you update the study. And so that's why, as Sheeta mentioned, there's a 5-year. At the most, you can wait 5 years, but some cities go ahead and do it every 2 years, every 3 years, every 4 years. Primarily if they see the costs kind of getting crazy, like y'all, we'll see every 6 months, we're going to give you an update on all these projects, and you'll be able to see, like, are they diverging? Are they getting closer to what we said they were going to be? Or if there's a new development that we didn't anticipate. Sometimes you get done with the study and something pops up that you didn't know about, and you're like, and then you don't want to wait 5 years to recoup that money, so.
What would you say is the average for areas around us that when they're looking at studies and revisions? I know you said some are 6 months, some are 1, 2, 3, 4 years. What's the average across the board for study updates?
Yeah, here in the Houston area, so all over Texas, it's a different answer. But in Houston, I would say almost all wait the full 5 years to do it.
Really?
Some really just in this last kind of 5-year period, we've had some people go to that 4 or 3 years simply because of the cost market that happened post 2020. So League City is a good example. They went up. They didn't wait the full 5 years. They did it a year early, just because as those costs start getting higher than what was estimated 5 years ago, if they start getting more, that's just more that falls on the rate study. And if development comes, they plat before you update it, they get the old number. They get the number that you set 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and that the opportunity for that revenue to fall on the developer side goes away, and it has to be paid for by the ratepayer. So that's kind of the decision. That's like probably y'all's most key decision that you'll make on this is is there a reason to go do it sooner than the 5 years or not? That's the real recommendation that I think even the code kind of says that's has to come or should come from y'all.
And just I guess sort of foreshadowing. Obviously, we're very early on in next year's budget planning, but we're talking about go ahead and including the cost in this coming year's budget, just in anticipation of updating, because this is a 21 study. It takes several months to do the study, So we have to have it adopted by 2026, which means that's essentially next year that we need to be working on it. So we're planning on budgeting for an update, because if it's not next year, then it'll be the year after, and then we'd really have to hurry. So it's probably next year, quite frankly.
Yeah, there are some cities up in the Metroplex, they do it every 2 years. They just do it every 2 years. So.
Your opinion is most of them wait the full 5 years and several are at 4 years, but not the majority or less than that.
That's correct.
The number that we've got on here, this $9,500 number that's on there, I know you said it's half of what it was. Is that number forecasted based on where we are in the market at that time, or you forecasting future to kind of pick up a little bit of growth on that side?
On this study, it was what we projected the cost in 2021 dollars at that time. So, you could include the inflation and escalation, and that's probably something that we have done in other cities. And, I think now that that has gotten to the level of where it is now, that would be something that you could recoup as well. Because you really are trying to capture the actual cost of what will be incurred. So financing cost is in here. And again, trying to project what the financing interests are going to be 3 years from now, back in 2021. I think the interest rates are higher than what we were projecting as well. So all that to being said is, if you were to redo this now, the number would be higher, I think is safe to say.
No, that was good.
Yeah, it's the first meeting. I mean, please keep. Make it hard to start raining, so we're gonna. Not. Oh, interesting.
Drop down to 20%.
The radar looks so bad up north, though.
Yeah, those summers are north. For what it's worth, I appreciate your report, appreciate you guys standing up here doing this. I don't quite know exactly what I'm looking at as I've stepped straight into this, but I think there's a lot of questions that have come from reading through this, and I'm not sure if directing them to you right now is the right time, or if it's convening with the rest of the team here to find out if we need to re-ask questions later. What's the most appropriate means for that?
I think if you have questions on the report, and if you're not prepared to make an approval of the report, then you would wait. But if you are, then I don't know, Tammy, how do you want them to make the approval and get it to council? Because that's ultimately who council wants to hear, whether y'all approve of this semi-annual report.
So that's exactly, you're right, Richard. If you guys are not comfortable with taking action to forward it with recommendation today, you can table it and we can schedule a second meeting for you guys to have time to look at it. But if you do have questions, then obviously we would have the consultants come back and make sure that you could email me your questions. I could get them to him. So we're prepared to answer those at your next meeting. Or if you're good with it, you guys would just entertain a motion in a second and forward it to the council.
What do the rest of you feel like? I mean, this is dropped in our lap today to say, hey, make a decision today. That's not my favorite route to go at anything.
I agree. I would have liked to seen it prior to, personally, as well.
So, and let me ask this, so the report is the report, all of the data and the numbers and that you guys don't change at this level. So, Dan, I'm not sure what else.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I guess so the questions would be more clarification, because the purpose of this is we're charging impact fees. By state law, we have to use those impact fees for the right thing. We have to, an accounting of that. So what their study is showing, or their report is showing that, yes, we are. We're nowhere close to collecting enough, which is to be expected, but we're not over collecting, and we're not using that money on something else that's not in the impact fee study. So it's really sort of almost an audit, if you will, of checks and balances to make sure that the funds that we're collecting are actually going back towards the projects that were identified in the impact fee study. So I guess Tammy's point is, yeah, the numbers are what they are, but and that doesn't mean, I don't mean that flippantly, I just mean that it would be more, if you want clarification, of course, we're happy to give clarification, because it's a lot to digest, for sure.
So approval is just kind of a formality at this point, is what it sounds like?
It is, but
Okay.
this hasn't really been done. It doesn't appear that the city's really done this the right way. I mean, believe it or not, you were on the original CIAC.
Yeah, I know we were briefly talking about that. I was like, oh man, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, which sort of started the whole process, which is great. But yeah, we're supposed to do this twice a year, so we're trying to get caught up. Really, is what we're trying to do. So.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to understand everything this time. I mean, you're going to understand more like the next time we do this. I would also say, and Dan is right, this is probably the most important, is that you're collecting money. How much are we collecting? Are you spending it? Yes. Like, sometimes you can collect a lot of money, and sometimes it's just hard to get projects going, and your balance builds up too much. And, or like if the fee was too much money, you would collect more money than you could spend. If the projects didn't cost this much, then you would not spend the money. And then it becomes like a little more complicated of a refund. But you would see that every 6 months, whether that's happening. And you could choose to say, redo the study and make it lower. I mean, you could do it that way. If costs ever were to go down, you would do that. And then the other one is, I mean, even I thought it was interesting putting this together, is that, Manvel's a city that's growing and is just really getting started. And I think having a bunch of projects that say in progress is a long way from where we were 3 years ago when we first did this. And now you get to see the progress. Some are actually going to be completed, probably the next time when we come. So you're going to start seeing cells turn green and be completed, and then more projects are going to be in progress. That's kind of y'all should want to see that. That progress is being made, because you're collecting money to do these projects. When you actually collect the money, you're saying you will do these projects, or at least you will serve the growth that is coming, that is paying. Because if you pay an impact fee,
you want it to,
you're getting served.
You want to see where your money's going.
And then the same thing on the wastewater side is you got 4 projects that have clicked into the orange. These other ones will also do that. Sometime in the 10 year, they need to be doing that. 3 years into it, we're already getting half the projects going. So that's really what y'all are kind of looking for here. And then we did add the column of, here's what we anticipated the cost to be, here's where they are at. You can see the wastewater plant is a lot more expensive. That's happening across the region. That's one of the reasons why the cities are updating it quicker.
Right.
Sooner rather than later.
I mean, I definitely don't want to hold anything up by tabling this, but what happens after approval? Like, I don't want to hold anything up, but like, what happens if we table it? What happens if we just move forward?
I mean, when do we need to get it to council, really?
Yeah, I mean, typically, the CIAC has always been the P&Z, so there's always another meeting.
Right.
So in y'all's case, I mean, if y'all tabled it, y'all would have to reconvene and then approve it.
Okay.
Whenever y'all are going to do that next.
If we didn't get on council this coming Monday, which is short, I mean, here we are Thursday night. So if we got on the June 3rd, it's sort of a June and January kind of rotation, Tammy, do you think that would be, again, anything we do now is better than what we've done, because we've not been doing it the right way. So you think if they could meet again, next Monday or the Monday, whatever, just to, I mean, we don't want to ram this down your throats. I mean, we want you to feel comfortable about it.
I mean, I feel better, I guess, knowing, like you said, the numbers are the numbers. This is kind of a formality. I just kind of feel, I don't want to feel like rushed.
Completely understand.
But I don't want to hold things up either. I don't know.
But, I mean, the June 3rd meeting, would that be okay with council I'm talking about? So as long as we met before then, to to get it ready for
I mean,
June
what are
3rd.
your thoughts? Does anybody want to just approve it and move on, or what do y'all think?
Because the numbers are what they are. If we want to understand the packet better, I think we can get together as a group to try to understand it, but.
Okay.
Just want to do that. Yeah.
Let me make a motion.
So just to confirm, they get together as a group. So because of the Open Meetings Act, anytime you guys get
It
together
has to be
and
here, yeah.
discuss
Okay.
business, it will have to be here as a posted meeting.
Yeah.
Make sure we don't have any private quorums going on out there, but.
No,
But they
no.
can't-
40%.
But they can email me or you directly if with any questions that you may
Yes.
have, and I can get, if I don't know, then obviously we got Richard and Ishita that know this stuff backwards and forwards, and I mean, I can, and usually what I do with council is, if there's a question from one of them, I can get the answer, and then I distribute it to all of them, and a blind CC is usually the way we do that, way they don't accidentally reply all, and we have a walking quorum. But yeah, absolutely, if you have any questions, I'm happy to do that. If, pretend like we did it tonight, do we need this on Monday's agenda to go? And who would we have somebody from the board, the chair, for instance, or would we just, maybe the chair says, hey, Richard, can you take care of that for me? Or, what would be the best way, you think, Tammy?
So it doesn't necessarily say that it has to be presented in person.
Okay.
So if they make a motion in a second to forward it on to city council,
Okay.
it could be the chair could come and be available for questions, or it could just be the actual report based off of the motion in the second that the board made. And then, of course, maybe Richard or Dan.
Also, when we did the impact fee study, we had the CIAC that did the same thing.
Right.
How did we transmit that approval initially to council? It was like, just like maybe a letter?
it was a memo.
From the chair, a memo, maybe from the chair.
I think we wrote the memo, and
Yeah.
Yeah, I
On their
think
behalf.
we did it and we just signed it.
Yeah, maybe do that again. Like if y'all do that approval, the chair would say, here's the report, we approve it. It was, that much of writing probably. And then that gets delivered to council, and I don't know if that's an agenda item or.
Yeah, it was done as an agenda item.
just to reiterate, I do want y'all to feel comfortable, because we all know our mayor and council, and if they come back and ask y'all, so how did it go? Well, we didn't really understand it, but we just wanted to push it through. I don't want that to be your response either.
Right, right.
If you need a minute, that's fine.
And we'll get you you already have the electronic copy, but yeah, reading through the 101 part, I mean, that's something we do as part of, every 5 years, whoever the CIAC is, we spend a whole meeting on just the upfront, what 101 part of this, and get a bunch of questions, then we usually come back with the data, like at the next meeting, so, that's probably a good part to read. And do we have like a more detailed one, or was this an abbreviated one? We can send Dan the longer version that probably CIAC got 3 years ago, and y'all can use that to educate yourself.
I guess I'm confusing when I was back on PD&Z and we did this, we were actually voting on like numbers and changing things, but you said this is different, right?
So, yes, because this is after the adoption. These are
Okay.
just the semi-annual reports.
Okay, so we're just forwarding to city council with recommendation that we've looked at it and we don't see anything shady, I guess. Okay,
And you don't
okay.
recommend that they
Got
go
it.
and update it any sooner than the 5-year period? Because again, that would be if you look at this and go, man, I really want the city to update it before that 5-year period, that would definitely be something you should be putting in a memo and
Right.
recommending to them. And so, and as Dan mentioned, if we do the update like a year, next year, then you'll have a meeting that would be very different. There will not be the semi-annual report meeting, which is all this is. That is the going through the process of updating the
Like what we
impact
had
fee.
done on,
That's what we
okay,
did
that's what I
previously.
remember, okay.
And that is mandated by law that we do that process, that y'all as a committee have to, because then y'all will be seeing what the new number is going to be, the new land use assumptions, everything will be new at that point in time, and y'all have to look at it and go, all right, these costs look good, the land use assumptions look good. I think, this process looks like it was done correctly, and then you make that recommendation to council that you approve the new number, and then they can say, all right, we're going with that number, or they can set it lower. Y'all's body does not have the power to set the
Right,
actual
right.
number. The council sets that. They just can't go above the number that we recommend and y'all recommend as well. That's why it's called the max allowable.
What's the cost for a new study?
That one is, it's for the water and wastewater study, we're preparing budget numbers right now. It's in the 150 range, something around there.
And you're committing to $100 to $150, right?
Yeah, no, 1,000, yeah. I mean, you can see here, it was 61 plus
Yes.
whatever
During the last update, we did.
130 last time.
Wastewater master plan, and then followed up with an impact fee study, which, because the CIP already gets developed in the master plans, and that makes the impact fee study a little less work.
Yeah, we'd be recommending to do it all at once in one study this time. That's what most cities do, just, we're getting there.
Does anybody feel like we should have some sort of recommendation to maybe move it up from a 5-year to a 4-year, just to pick up a little bit of extra? I mean, if we're already looking at, 2x the fee of just the fee of doing the study, and if we're behind already and we have growth coming, we've got the potential to pick up dollars somewhere that can be accounted for, that we could potentially be missing out by not moving up,
You're saying to move up the study to then be able to charge or open
Yeah,
up the
so I mean,
idea to increasing the impact fee?
Yeah, so if we're doing it at 5-year and we just change to a 4-year instead, we're not, it's not going every 6 months, but we're giving ourselves a little bit of at least a year benefit of getting ahead of it.
And then, what did you say, what are we behind on? Did I miss something?
I mean, we're running numbers on 2021, and Christopher.
On the actual cost.
Oh,
versus the
Christopher had
estimate.
I
said,
gotcha.
hey, look, we didn't really anticipate the increase that.
Oh, that's
currently
okay,
going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
So now we're,
Yeah, the excess cost is falling on the ratepayers.
we're kind of in a hole as it is.
I gotcha, okay.
And, 5 years from now, that hole's going to be even deeper. At least 4 years, it's not as deep, and we're treading less water.
To your point, Jason, so the wastewater treatment plant, as an example, it was estimated at 26 million. If all goes well, we're awarding it Monday night for 40 million. Yeah, which is more than 26 million.
Wow.
By a
Considerably,
touch.
yeah.
By-
So if y'all did include that recommendation, that would probably quite honestly help staff in the sense that, as we're preparing our budget, if that's a recommendation from y'all as well, that you came up with on your own, staff didn't put you up to this, but hey, we think it's a good idea to go ahead and include this update in next year's budget, council. I think that would, we're on the same page, I think, quite frankly. I don't think you asked earlier, why don't cities do them every 2 years? And then you heard how much they cost. That's why they don't, because they're expensive
Right.
studies, right? So, but I think they would be appropriate, right, for their recommendation?
Yeah, it's really the cities that have, like the 1,000 homes that Dan was mentioning, they do that every year.
Yep.
Well, what the number is and what it could be times 1,000 every year, it starts paying for updates to studies like pretty quickly. I don't know if Manvel's going to be growing 1,000 houses every single year, but some cities do that, and that's the math that works to do it every 2 years or so. But doing it, I think even if y'all made the recommendation, budgeted for it, we did the study and got it done, it still would be, late in 2025. It would be, 10 months early or 9 months early. Nothing crazy.
Tammy, so I'm new at this, so is that a motion that I would make to move what's the exact term that I'm looking for? Move up the study from 5 years to 4 years?
Update the water and wastewater impact fee study from 5 years to 4 years.
Well, perhaps to approve this report and make a favorable recommendation to council along with the component that you just added, right?
So yeah, I would suggest that it be to approve the report with the recommendation of having the update to the capital improvement plan study from 5 years to 4 years included in the report. Oh, impact fee study included in it. So what we would do is amend this, include that as maybe number 6 or somewhere inside that, and then have the cover letter from the board that would be signed approving this.
Approving and making the recommendation that you mentioned on the cover letter.
Correct. And it would also be in the report.
So approve the report and recommend the impact fee, an update to the impact fee study for next year's budget.
Before we move into that, Ramji, I haven't heard much from you. You usually have a lot to say. What are your thoughts?
This is all completely new for me. I'm still absorbing it. And so I think this discussion at least clarified what the expectations are. So even to say yes or no, I felt that I needed to know a little bit more about the background. That's why I have not really said anything. But even if we wait for a week or so, I'm not sure if we would have an opportunity to get that information, since I think by protocol, we really cannot meet outside this venue. And so we really have to be here to discuss and so on. So I think you two have a lot more background information about analysis like this. I actually don't even, some of the acronyms, I don't even know what that means.
You'll learn. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the report and also that amend the study to go from a 5-year to a 4-year study.
I'll second.
So all in favor to approve the report and update the recommendation to move the impact study from 5 years to 4 years?
Aye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone good?
Yeah, it was unanimous.
All right, so the motion passes.
Thank you.
Yep. Yep.
All right, so lastly, on the regular agenda item, we're going to make some consideration and possible action to set future meetings.
So that one's added on here because I didn't know if there was going to be another meeting needed after this one. So rather than try to pull everybody via email and work around that, I thought I'd take advantage of y'all being at the table. So since this is going on to City Council, then the next meeting will either be the 6-month report or an update if we're going to start moving forward with the timeframe for the new the 6-month report. So I do have an email from all of y'all on which days and what timeframes will work. So closer to that 6 months, I will email and schedule something around that timeframe. Make sure those dates are still good with or the times and days that y'all's schedules didn't change.
Should we have like a meeting sometime before then, just to meet and go over acronyms and go over just the process, kind of step by step, and ask questions without having something in front of us that has to be decided on that moment type of thing? Would that be okay? Are y'all open to that?
Yeah. If you like, Mr. Chairman, we could do it to let you know how the projects are going, the capital improvement projects, just to give you an update, in say 3 months or something instead, if you like, because we're about to have $80 million or so worth of projects going on, so.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. About
So
3
that
months.
being said, I know y'all probably don't have your schedules,
Let me see,
but,
what's that? June, July, August? August, September time?
so
Probably busy that day.
I know, right?
do you want to keep it consistent with, today was the third Thursday of the month? I could do the third Thursday of August at the same time. I'll send that out if you guys have, I mean, you don't have to set it in stone today, but that just kind of gives me an idea if you think that that would work.
I think so.
Dan, is there any benefit to doing any faster than 3 months? I know you said we're about to book basically $80 million worth of stuff. I mean, is there a benefit to meeting in 2 months?
Sure. I mean, I guess the moral to the story was just sooner than the 6 months, right? So we could have this kind of get in front of each other more often. I mean, we don't have to have any of the consultants or anything. I mean, it's a free meeting, so to speak. You know, we already own the building, so we can meet however often you like. Sure.
That's going to be my other question. I guess that's kind of more Tammy or Dan. You probably could answer this too. So I understand that we can't go, the 5 of us can't go sit down at Honorays and have conversation about this, but the 5 of us are able to come sit down and hear, and it just has to be posted that we're sitting and talking about it, or does that even have to be posted? As long as we're meeting about it in this building, we're good?
It will have to be posted 72 hours prior to the meeting, and the topic has to be specific to what's on the agenda that you're going to be talking about.
Okay.
So it could be a general update on, status update on impact fee projects, and then all things impact fee projects can be discussed. If there's specific things other than, I don't know what other, I think it stages that broad, I don't know what else we would, Bobby, Dan, that.
I mean, it could be growth, you know, because like Richard said, you know, it's a numerator and a denominator. So one of them is the cost of the projects. The other one is the growth itself.
So maybe development in general. But yes, it would have to be a posted agenda 72 hours prior to y'all's meeting. And you would have to have a quorum. There'd have to be at least a majority of y'all in attendance for us to be able to have the meeting.
Okay. But it could be kind of treated more like a workshop, less like a.
Yeah, there would be no action.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay.
I would love to do that just based on just these things right here of just kind of more sharing my thoughts of, hey, this is what I don't understand. Who
Right,
does,
right.
and then maybe we formulate some sort of list of questions or something that then gets emailed over to Dan of, hey, here's where we're unsure of these things and how we move forward as a benefit to the city from the position that we're in right now, and what's kind of get an idea of, you know, what the expectations are from staff or engineers or council or anybody else, and then what's the deliverable side from our position or this chair here. You know, what's the expectation going back the other way? Because I see a lot of stuff. I have a lot of questions, but I don't know that it changes anything one way or the other right now. I think Ramji and I are kind of in the same boat where it's.
You know a lot more about this than I do.
You're giving me way more credit than I'm due. I promise you that, my friend.
Sound like you a lot more.
That's.
Is a
Do
month,
we have to vote on a time, or it's just discussion about a time, right?
so.
Oh, possible
if you were gonna
action
set a
to
set
set-
schedule,
oh.
so you don't, I mean, if I can get a consensus, that works as well.
Yeah, if
But
you
do you
just
want to do as
email
early
us.
as a month? Do you want to do the third Thursday in June?
Oh, I can't in June.
That's June the 20th?
Oh, I'll still be here.
Can I in June?
I don't know. I don't know your schedule.
You know better than I do.
Ask your wife.
Disregard. How about June the 27th?
Oh, no, I can't. The 27th. I won't be
I
here.
think you're out on the 27th, Lena.
July the 18th?
That should work.
Maybe I'll send that out to everybody and see, that
How
would be
about-
the third Thursday of July.
Put out the June 20th date and then the July date that you came up
June
with.
20th will not work because we need Dan, and he's out.
Well, you should have to reschedule. That's just.
But I will send out then the Thursday, July 18th as a possible date. to
Dan, if I-
everyone, and then keep y'all updated on what that date looks like. Same time, or do you guys want to meet a little bit earlier?
Same time.
Same time? It'd be 5?
Dan, if I've got questions just based off of this stuff and I send an email to you, can I put everybody else on that same line of questions, or it has to go to you?
Send it to me,
Okay.
and then what I'll do is I'll take my best, or even if you want to meet, I mean, we can meet face to face too, but then if we come up with some good answers, then I could share that with the whole group, and that
Okay.
way, hey, these are good questions. Everybody else might have these questions too, so yeah, I can share it because I'm not a voting member, right?
And as far as if you and I met, just the two of us,
Sure.
is that I still need to come into this building and sit down in your office and go through it, or we can
We
just
can go to Honorays that you mentioned a while ago.
or go get barbecue, something
Exactly.
like that?
Yep.
Okay.
And that goes for obviously anybody. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need any action on that one, so.
Sounds like I got a whole week covered. That's 5 people. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, you're not. I thought you were buying.
So since there are no more questions, I want to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Perfect. 6:09. Thank y'all.
Well, this was fun.